Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike here on this Tuesday morning. Continues. Mention get ready for the football game coming up here on Saturday. North Dakota State heading to a spot they have never been before in the 128 years of Bison football. They have never played a game in the state of Tennessee. Now, they've played Tennessee opponents. They just got done playing one this past week in Tennessee State. And now they're going to head all the way about as far east as you can in the state of Tennessee, in the Volunteer State, to take on the Buccaneers of ETSU, play in the Southern Conference. We saw them 3 years ago. They were in the last 8 that year, a quarterfinal loss, and new head coach, basically a brand new team looking for to get back to the top of the SoCon. It's our pleasure to welcome on first-year head coach at ETSU, Tre Lamb, joins us here on this Tuesday morning. Coach, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it. And just give me the vibe around Johnson City about the Bison coming into town.
Yeah, Dom, thanks for having me. It's, I think we're excited. I said last night in my radio show, it's kind of like Alabama. Everybody, what North Dakota State's been so impressive because they always get everybody's best game. Everybody, Tuesday practice felt a little bit different today because they know, how good these guys are and how we don't want to get embarrassed. And, there's certainly a vibe around here. I expect a sellout crowd if the weather stays away. I think it'll be the largest crowd in school history. We've already sold $40,000 worth of tickets. So very, very excited for the opportunity.
So when you took the job, the games were already on the schedule. Was that, how well aware of you were you knowing that when you took the job there?
Yeah, we opened with App State last week, who's, kind of in the same boat, to be honest with you, as far as winning goes. They've won 3 straight national championships at the FCS level. They've won the Sun Belt, several times in the last few years. They're 10-win seasons perennial. And, when I looked at the schedule, I was like, okay, App State, North Dakota State, and then we go to Elon next week, who's another top 25 team. It's not easy, but I think it gives us a good opportunity to kind of see where we're at and where we need work. And, we're trying to build something pretty special here. Of course, we'd like to be good in year one, but we got to find out where our deficiencies are.
Describe the challenges of going. I'll talk about Gardner-Webb in a second, but going into a spot, I'm not sure how much did you know about ETSU saying, okay, this is a spot I think we can win it. They've won here. I think I can get them back to the top of the SoCon. What were the challenges of that here in year one?
Yeah, it's, in today's market, I think public state schools have a little bit of an advantage in the transfer market. So that's number one I looked at, and I looked at the roster and I saw that, they were going to have 30, 35 scholarships open. So I knew I could bring in a bunch of my own guys and a bunch of guys out of the portal. And, in today's day and age, I think you can flip it pretty quickly. And I knew what Randy Sanders had done here, and he had won 11 games before. And it's a place that loves football, East Tennessee. It doesn't get any more football than that. And, I'm from the South. My uncle was the head coach at Furman for a long time, so very familiar with the Southern Conference. I think getting back into a conference like the Southern Conference was big for me because the Big South OVC was all over the place.
Yep.
You had 3 teams moving in, 3 teams moving out every year. You're traveling all over the country to play games, and the consistency of the Southern Conference really persuaded me to take this.
Being from the South and seeing them restart football like they did 7-8 years ago, they've already made the postseason. So does it seem like it's inherent there's good football that can be played there?
Yeah, I think recruiting Knoxville, Chattanooga, Atlanta, South Georgia, Birmingham, Florida, we could throw a blanket over those states and get a lot of speed. And you're in a league with some private schools like Mercer and Sanford and Furman and Wofford and Citadel. You have a little bit of a recruiting advantage, and I think we can get some speed in here and turn this thing into a talented athletic football team that plays with discipline. But yeah, I think a great place to live. Johnson City is beautiful. It's not too big, not too small. There's plenty to do. But the location in the mountains is you're going to love when they're going to love when they see the stadium. They come down here. It's a beautiful setting to play football. Just a lot to like about this place.
The last couple of years for you at Gardner-Webb, I know you got my attention a couple of years ago. You beat Eastern Kentucky in the playoffs the way you did. How much did that, for you, put your name out there to say, okay, he's winning at a spot that has never made the playoffs or won before.
Yeah, I think they don't give 30-year-olds good jobs a lot of times. So you kind of got to earn your stripes. And right now I'm taking over a program that's won 3 games the last 2 years. So maybe I'm just going to be known for turning things around. That's kind of the Matt Rule approach, or the Willie Fritz approach. Everywhere they go was a losing program, and they found a way to get it back to winning. It's hard to do. It's not easy, and we're working hard at it every day.
The challenge of North Dakota State, when you see them, what comes to mind when you've watched their first couple games?
Defensive line and quarterback play are exceptional. And in my opinion, those are the most 2 important positions on the team, with O-line probably being the third. Style of play is very physical and different than what we see in this league on a weekly basis. Just size differential is impactful. They're going to eat the ball and hold the ball, and 2 very contrasting styles of play. We're an up-tempo spread, air raid type offense that likes to run the ball when you give us clean boxes, and then they're the opposite. They want to run the ball and get the safeties in the fit and then throw it over your head. So we'll see. It's kind of a heavyweight fight with those guys, and we're kind of fighting up in class a little bit, and we're going to have to play almost perfect and hit some things and have a little luck and some turnovers. But we had a really good practice today, and I liked our physicality.
What are you telling your guys? They know about, or how much do they know about North Dakota State? Do they know a lot before this, or are they well informed of what they're facing on Saturday?
Oh yeah, they're very well aware.
Yeah.
They keep up with the times, and they know how good the tradition's been there, and through 3 or 4 head coaches even, it hasn't dropped off. The culture's elite. They play hard. They're in the right spots. The way they play the game, like technically sound, is what's most impressive. They defeat blocks. They're always have an edge to the defense. They always have guys in the right spot. They don't bust coverages. It's just they don't beat themselves, and then they get so physical that when you make one mistake, it's like a boa constrictor just like choking you. You just can't breathe, and we got to find a way to create some space and run the football and hopefully hit some shots on them. So we'll see.
You know the lineage of that conference. Bison fans do as well, Trey, with Georgia Southern coming up here for a couple of epic games. Wofford's been up here. The Bison have played Furman. What is it going to take for that league to get back? Is it there to get back to where it was, to have sustained teams make deep runs like ETSU did to the quarterfinals, to have a team make the semifinals? What's it going to take for the SoCon to get back to that level?
Well, I think last year was a good year for the SoCon. I wasn't in the league, but I think you look at it from afar. I think Furman was extremely old and talented with a good quarterback. They made a nice run. The problem with the Southern Conference a lot of times is we typically win the first round or get a bye. At least one team does. Chattanooga, Furman, they've kind of been the ones lately. Sanford has played North Dakota State.
Yep.
So the problem is your third round game, you go out there. In my opinion, it's just hard to win when you're traveling to Montana State, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and you go out there and you're playing in a completely different environment, completely new style of football. It's hard to beat those people at their places, and we got to find a way to get those games back on our campuses late in the year. I think is most important. Another thing that's unique about the Southern Conference is we all play each other.
Yeah.
We beat up on each other. Even Citadel, VMI, Wofford, who you look at on paper, you're like, we should beat these guys. They're down. Furman should beat them. There's an upset every year because there's so much consistency when you play the same teams over and over and over from year to year. Coaches remain the same, and it's just hard to go 7-1 or 8-0 in this league. It's just hard. You're going to be in a lot of close ball games, and I think getting some of those games back on campus late in the year would be big.
You are a former quarterback. Give me your evaluation of watching Cam Miller on tape.
Yeah, he's an elite decision maker. He's tough. You can tell he's resilient. They try to get him beat out 2 different times, and he just keeps winning the job and keeps winning games. I went through something similar as a player. I was my sophomore year, I started at Tennessee Tech, and they brought in a transfer from Minnesota to beat me out, and I ended up winning the job, and I had the best year of my career my next year because you just feel like you validated it. So respect to their coaching staff for having the willingness to do that over time. But Cam is, in my opinion, he's an NFL player. I think he's the best quarterback we've seen this year, and he's the best one we will see because he's a great decision maker. He's a good enough runner, and he's very accurate. He played really well against Colorado.
When you, for Bison fans are going to make the trip down, and I know you mentioned this at your press conference yesterday, they've never been to the state of Tennessee. What to expect? What's the area like for people that are going to make the trip to Johnson City this weekend?
Well, you're in the mountains, you're at elevation. The foliage has not quite started turning orange and red, but it's close. You're going to see an elite tailgate situation. Okay. A lot of beer drinking and grilling going on. We had one of our parents did a gator last week, grilled a gator at the tailgate.
All right.
So you're going to see some East Tennessee hospitality, some Southern hospitality. We'll have 5,000-6,000 people at our buck walk, and hopefully 12,000 to 15,000 when we get in the stadium. It'll be standing room only. Do have a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico right now, which is pushing up towards Memphis, but we're 11 hours from Memphis, so I'm hoping it stays away from the mountains and the mountains break it up a little bit. But the temperature is going to be great. It's about 45 degrees this morning. Just got off the practice field and just excited to see the green and gold come to ETSU.
Last question before I let you go, and I know a lot of this was done before you got here, but your future schedules next year, you're playing Tennessee. You're coming to Fargo in 26. You play North Carolina as well. How much of that is a scheduled or is a thought-out process? We want to have these games to get us ready for potential to make some playoff runs.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important we continue to play these games in college football with this, realignment. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are both going to push for one of the FCS games a year, which is great. I think you play one FCS, one group of 5, and then 10 real good ball games.
Yeah.
So, and I think we need to continue to play some D2s and non-D1s. I think, the funding, the separation is growing larger at each level because of the collectives and the market value for players. So I think it's important. And I like playing big games because you feel like you got nothing to lose. I mean, we're supposed to get beat by 26 points Saturday. Like, what am I nervous for? I'm going to prepare my team to win the game. We're going to coach our tails off, play our tails off, and let the chips fall where they fall, and do it again next week on the road at Elon. So my job right now is to fix ETSU and the issues we've had before I got here, and that's what I'm doing every day.
I really appreciate the time, bud. Thanks so much for this. Look forward to seeing you in person this weekend, okay?
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate it.
Tre Lamb, head coach of East Tennessee State, joining us this morning as the Buccaneers get ready for the Bison. Note the kickoff as well. It's a 4:30 kick on Saturday. We'll be there for Bison game day live 10 a.m. on Saturday morning in the Volunteer State. You heard we got the weather forecast as well from the head football coach, so looks like it's going to be a dynamite day, and looking forward to seeing a new environment as the Bison head out on the road to take on ETSU. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll get you ready for a busy Sporting Tuesday before we get you out the door. Hot Mike will wrap right after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com.